The untold story of the most notorious sniper of the Civil War. Let's have this conversation. The most lethal sniper of the Civil War was not a conventional soldier, nor a celebrated hero. He was a farmer from Tennessee, driven to extremes by a tragedy that history has largely overlooked. While figures like Grant and Sherman captured public attention, Jack Henson, a mourning father armed with a custom .50 caliber rifle, meticulously targeted Union troops, demonstrating a level of marksmanship that altered the dynamics of warfare. His rifle, marked by over 100 confirmed kills, has faded from historical accounts. The reason for this obscurity lies in the uncomfortable truths of war that are seldom discussed. His quest for revenge instilled fear in an entire army, with the reverberations of his shots resonating long after the surrender at Appomattox. Before we delve deeper, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel to support our community. At the onset of the Civil War, Jack Henson was a prosperous landowner and a slaveholder in Stewart County, Tennessee, specifically in the Between the Rivers district near Dover. This area derived its name from its location nestled between the Cumberland and Tennessee rivers, situated roughly 100 miles west of Nashville. Today, the land that once comprised Henson's plantation is now part of a recreational area near the historic site. The Tennessee Valley Authority later constructed dams on both rivers, resulting in the creation of the modern Kentucky Lake and Lake Barkley Reservoirs. During the initial stages of the war, Henson maintained a position of neutrality, prioritizing the safeguarding of his agricultural livelihood at Bubbling Springs Plantation over any political affiliations. Being of an age that exempted him from military service, he actively discouraged his sons from joining the fight, urging them to focus on farming. However, one son chose to defy his father's wishes and enlisted in the Confederate Army. These parallel rivers functioned as crucial supply routes for both Union and Confederate armies, a strategic situation that necessitated the dispatch of Ulysses S. Grant to the Western Theater by Washington officials to secure these essential waterways. Union forces initially established control over Paducah, Kentucky, before directing their efforts toward two significant Confederate strongholds, Fort Henry on the Tennessee River and the larger Fort Donelson on the Cumberland River. The latter fortification was situated in close proximity to Henson's Bubbling Springs estate, placing his property directly within the military operational zone. While Fort Henry surrendered quickly to Union forces, the Battle of Fort Donelson evolved into a lengthy three-day confrontation characterized by substantial casualties, ultimately resulting in a Union victory. This critical engagement not only enhanced General Grant's reputation, but also marked the beginning of a Confederate downturn in the Western Theater. Despite the violence encircling his estate, Henson maintained a stance of non-alignment, endeavoring to preserve his agricultural livelihood and family responsibilities amid Union control. Federal troops stationed at Fort Donelson viewed him with a degree of suspicion, yet they adopted a cautious approach toward the local landowner. However, the autumn following the fall of Fort Donelson brought significant turmoil. Ongoing guerrilla raids, referred to as bushwhacking by Union forces, escalated near Dover, with Confederate irregulars conducting small-scale ambushes against Federal patrols. As Northern casualties increased, these covert attacks became more frequent, transforming bushwhackers into a serious threat to Union forces and irrevocably disrupting Henson's fragile neutrality. The conflict intensified to the point where Union command ordered soldiers to eliminate bushwhackers by any means necessary, implementing a strict no-quarter policy. One autumn morning, Jack's two sons, aged 17 and 21, set out to hunt. A Union patrol encountered the brothers during their expedition, hastily accusing them of being guerrilla fighters and executing them without any form of trial. To further their message, the soldiers beheaded the young men, transporting their heads to nearby Bubbling Springs and displaying them on the gateposts of the estate as a macabre warning. This horrific act caused profound trauma to the Henson family, irrevocably disrupting their previous way of life. In spite of the soldier's brutal actions and the deep personal grief he experienced, Jack managed to maintain a fragile semblance of normalcy at his plantation. Internally, however, he underwent a significant transformation, quietly formulating a plan for revenge that would establish him as one of the most feared sharpshooters in warfare. His considerable wealth afforded him the means to realize this ambition. Henson engaged a master gunsmith to create a bespoke .50 caliber muzzleloader, utilizing the most advanced components and craftsmanship available at the time. The resulting weapon became a tool of precise lethality, specifically designed to meet his needs. Although already proficient with firearms, Jack devoted countless hours to mastering the rifle's capabilities, achieving deadly accuracy. Concurrently, he conducted secret surveillance on the Union patrols at Fort Donaldson, carefully tracking the unit responsible for his son's death and memorizing their movements. His campaign began with the ambush and assassination of the patrol's commanding officer and the sergeant who had directly overseen the desecration of his son's remains. Successfully avoiding detection, Henson continued his agricultural activities while systematically targeting high-ranking Union officers, believing that the elimination of such personnel would yield the greatest psychological and strategic repercussions. As the number of casualties attributed to him increased, the Northern forces became increasingly wary of Jack and his family. The rise of guerrilla warfare in the area prompted Union commanders to implement severe measures, permitting the arrest of suspected bushwhackers without any substantiating evidence. This atmosphere of suspicion and retribution signified the irrevocable disintegration of Jack Henson's previous life, intertwining his legacy with a clandestine conflict of revenge that plagued both factions. The commander at Fort Donaldson ordered troops to Bubbling Springs with the intent to capture Jack, a mission that would have culminated in his execution had it not been for the intervention of a physician from Dover who successfully negotiated for his clemency. Although he was granted a temporary reprieve, Henson understood the precariousness of his situation in the area and devised a plan for a nighttime escape to ensure his family's safety. Under the cover of darkness, he moved them westward across the Tennessee River to a secure location 40 miles away. Once he had secured their safety, Jack made the difficult decision to leave, aware that his presence could jeopardize both families, marking a poignant separation that defined the Henson family's tragic new existence. In search of solitude, he retreated to a riverside ridge that contained a modest cave, unaware that this natural feature would play a significant role in shaping his identity during the war. Mounted on his reliable mare, he established a sparse life within the grotto, armed with his specialized .50 caliber rifle, an item that would become emblematic of his quest for vengeance. Meanwhile, Union forces, alerted to the Henson family's escape, set fire to Bubbling Springs, disregarding the pleas of formerly enslaved individuals whom Jack had freed months prior to the federal proclamation. These individuals, who had been granted autonomy over the plantation, could only watch in despair as soldiers reduced their home to ruins. Upon covertly returning to assess the devastation, Henson was confronted with the undeniable obliteration of his former life. The charred remnants of his former life marked his transformation from an indifferent farmer to a relentless avenger. Simultaneously, the Tennessee River's turbulent dynamics below his refuge, where the waters surged through a constricted passage between land and island, established a critical navigational choke point. Union vessels attempting to navigate upstream through this narrow corridor would soon encounter an unexpected foe, as Jack's cave offered both a secure hideout and a deadly perspective. Thus commenced his meticulously planned campaign, combining an in-depth understanding of the landscape with precise marksmanship to initiate a new phase in unconventional warfare. This perilous section of the river became a prime kill zone for a vengeance-fueled sharpshooter armed with a finely tuned long rifle. Jack quickly realized that his exceptional shooting abilities, enhanced by the custom firearms performance, could wreak havoc far beyond his most vengeful imaginings. His approach evolved into a ritual. He would observe the narrow channel until Union supply ships entered the perilous zone. Through his telescopic sight, he would pinpoint the officers on deck. Then he would exact vengeance with lethal shots aimed at the brain or heart. His life devolved into a cycle of violence, detached from societal conventions. Occasional secret visits to his family offered brief moments of humanity, yet he consistently returned to his cave refuge, both to escape Union pursuit and to shield his loved ones from harm. Local supporters provided him with supplies as he adhered to his deadly routines. Between ambushes, his guerrilla tactics took on a strange normalcy, disrupted only when he received news of the surrender at Appomattox. Although the fighting had come to an end, the psychological wounds remained. Historical analysts attribute to Henson over 100 confirmed kills achieved through primitive ballistics, a tally that secures his position among the most lethal precision shooters in history. After the war, he quietly returned to his family near Danville, where he managed a grain mill and a general store during the Reconstruction period in Tennessee. His later years were largely uneventful, yet he remained ever watchful. Discontented Union veterans continued to pursue the ghost of the Cumberland, who had significantly diminished their numbers. The key artifact of this legacy, Henson's .50 caliber muzzleloader, marked with somber notches, is preserved by descendant Judge Ben Hall McFarlane in Murfreesboro. Occasional museum displays feature this weapon of asymmetric warfare, its barrel engravings silently narrating a father's profound transformation. Jack Henson passed away in 1905, not on a battlefield, but in a serene Tennessee town. His rifle endured beyond his life, its notches serving as a cipher for a conflict within a conflict. Was he a hero, a villain, or merely a father unwilling to allow history to silence his son's cries? The Union may have destroyed his home, but they could not extinguish his fury. The Confederacy may have lost the West, yet Henson's presence continues to linger along its rivers. We commemorate Grant's triumphs. However, who establishes the rules when warfare intertwines with vengeance? When a solitary man, fueled by sorrow and armed with a .50 caliber bullet, becomes a nightmare for an entire army? The reality is, we may never uncover how many Union letters began with the words, "Dear Mother, today I encountered the ghost of the Cumberland." Thanks for watching. Please, if you found the narratives good, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel.